Woohoo!
Let's move on to another emotion. What's it feel like to be sad?
Well, anger is an active emotion. Sadness is a passive one, I would say. Like, whatever that means in this context. When you're sad, I mentioned this before, it feels like you want to, like, lay around and do nothing. Like, you don't want to do anything.
Wallowing.
You're wallowing.
That's a word that I think
sulking.
is attributed to sadness.
It sounds like sadness sounds really pathetic because, like, it is. It's a pathetic emotion. It's like you're not able to do anything but feel sad. And even that sounds, you're like laughing at it right now.
It's so funny. It is.
It's like,
so funny.
it's like,
so it's embarrassing to be sad.
It's really embarrassing to feel sad. Sadness like consumes itself. Like sadness is like, there's nothing more important than sadness, and by consequence, almost like it's really self-centered.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing more infuriating than someone laughing at your sadness.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so real when it's happening to you.
Sadness is always real, and like I know you're laughing about it right now because you're an asshole. But sadness is like really, it's like the reason why people wallow in it. The real reason why people are so consumed by it is because like it's a really terrible thing to feel. It's like
so bad.
When you're sad, there's nothing else you can feel because that sadness is just so terrible for you. Like that's why people are depressed. That's why people have like these mental illnesses. Like when sadness is there, sadness doesn't let you do anything else because like the act of being sad is just so terrible.
Well, let's break it down. How does it affect your thoughts?
Sadness makes all thoughts bad. This definitely doesn't quicken your thoughts, but I'm not really sure if it quite slows your thoughts either. I mean, it could, depending on some context. But mostly when you're sad, it's just like every thought is about the sad thing. And every thought that isn't about the sad thing is now suddenly sad. It's like if you're thinking about like how like you just failed an assignment or something, your thoughts are all on that assignment. Your thoughts are like, I failed it. And then you're gonna try to do the anger thing where you're gonna lead to conclusions. You're gonna be like, I failed this assignment, which means I'm gonna fail this class, which means I'm gonna fail school, which means I'm gonna drop out of school, which means I'm gonna be homeless on the streets and then die in the streets.
Well, and something totally orthogonal can happen, and it's stupid too. Like your phone could go off, and you're like, phones are so stupid.
That's literally exactly what happens. Your phone goes off, and you're like, phones are so stupid. And then you're like, I don't want to get out of bed. I hate life.
Waking up is
everything.
stupid.
Your friend is like, oh, hey, I got a good grade on this assignment. It's like, I hate my friend.
My friend's stupid.
My friend's the worst. And then you think about like a good thing. You're thinking about like, oh, but at least I have like that package that's being delivered to me. And then all of a sudden you're like, that package is bad now.
Yeah, I don't even want it.
I hate good things.
The world's so materialistic.
The world is misery, and everything that was ever good happened to me was a lie. And it's like, that sounds like really silly, and like we're kind of making fun of it right now. But when you're in that sadness, it's like very explicitly not silly to you. It's like those things.
It's exactly the opposite. It's really serious.
Those things are stupid.
It's really serious.
Depending on like the extent of that emotion, like how bad that sadness is, like if it's not about you failing an assignment, but it's about like a close friend dying or something, then all that seems like that much more serious and that much more real. And in a way, it really is real, because when it comes to like an assignment, it's like people are like pretend to be like, get over it, like whatever, like this doesn't really change anything. But if it's about like someone dying, then it's like actually all of a sudden that sadness is so much worse because it's so much more justified, because these things really are going to change. Like maybe the world is bad now because now I don't have this person that was in it with me.
That just reminds me of a story. I was in a bar in graduate school with two of my best friends, a guy and a girl. And I got a call from my mom. So I kind of, walked away just a little bit.
Yeah.
And she told me that our cat had died. Like my childhood cat, my lifelong buddy cat had died.
Yeah.
And it really made me sad, And I was like, oh, well, I talked just for a little bit and I hung up. And my friends, like, they saw me and they looked at me and they were like, dude, what happened? And I was like, my cat died. And they were like, "Wah!" Immediately, they couldn't control. They thought it was the funniest thing ever. That's the thing we were talking about, right? Is like, sadness is it's isolating. Like no one is interested in your sad state. No one wants to be sad with you. Do you know what I mean? Like Like people's reaction to seeing someone sad is kind of like you're kind of being dumb, or
Okay, but those people suck.
But I mean, but that was a bad reaction.
Those, okay, like sad.
But you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. But let me just point out.
They were being like honest. You know what I mean? That was like they were like that's just like they were like because they were like you're a dumb cat.
The thing is, sadness seems stupid and sadness seems silly. But the thing about sadness is that like have empathy, like
it wasn't
be a nice person. Like don't be like just because you're an asshole and your friends are assholes doesn't mean like everyone in the world is an asshole or that everyone in the world is justified for being one. Because like sadness is serious for the person, and sadness, and when it comes especially like a death.
I know.
Literally.
I was just sharing the story because I thought it was like it's just like it kind of shows the contrast.
It seems funny to you now, but it definitely didn't seem funny back then.
No, it was sad. I mean, I kind of got it. But.
Dude, I would be so pissed at those friends. Like, I would immediately, I would punch them.
Anger could have been the reaction.
I would have blocked their phone numbers. Like, I would have never talked to those friends again.
Oh.
Like, that was not.
Oh, there you go. So, we talked about how sadness affects your thoughts. How does it affect your body? What does it actually feel like physically?
It feels like a weight on you. It's heavy. And there's no exact, like, actual physical reaction like there is with adrenaline and anger. But there is the perception of one where it feels like there's actually, like, something physical weighing on you. Like, you can hardly bring yourself to get up to do anything.
Well, and I feel like I can describe it as something like, I feel like there might be a pit in my stomach.
You feel empty. You feel empty.
But here's the thing, like, this is what I'm trying to get, like, when I talk about the body, like, look at all these metaphors we're using. You know, hot or empty or, heavy. It's not really heavy. Do you know what I mean? But how do we do that as humans? It seems so natural. Like, I know exactly what you're saying when it says, sadness feels heavy. But it's not like, like gravity heavy.
It's because sadness feels heavy in the way that it feels like it's hard to move. When you're sad, when there's something heavy on you, it's like you're not able, when you're carrying something heavy, it's like you can't, like your arms feel like exhausted, you feel tired, like you can hardly like hold yourself up. And that's what sadness feels like. You can't like walk around and do anything, you can hardly stand. Like you just want to lay around and let it like the weight soak on you. Because when your limbs feel like exhausted, they feel terrible, they feel like they can't lift themselves up to do anything. That's what being heavy feels like. And the reason that we use these metaphors for especially emotion is because we're able to so easily connect them to the actual experiences. Because sadness feels heavy, because sadness does feel heavy. Sadness feels the same way that heaviness feels like. It feels like you're carrying a big weight.
I think it's interesting, though, that we just so naturally are able to talk about emotions in metaphor.
Yeah. Because, it's not exactly nice to say, like, oh, when I'm angry, it's like my muscles get stronger and my eyesight improves and the blood is flowing throughout my body. Like, you can think of that in that way, but even if you describe it in that way, you're going to describe it in, like, sort of a more poetic way. Like, you're going to describe it like the blood was rushing through me like a fire in my veins, like, because when you think of emotion, it doesn't really feel like a bodily process, It feels like something greater than that.
Let's move on to a positive emotion. Joy.
Joy. Happiness.
What does joy feel like?
Joy feels great. Joy feels like the opposite of sadness.
A lightness.
A lightness. And it feels like almost like a good version of anger. It's like you're able to do anything, but those things are good things instead. It's like anything is possible. And like you get started on that same like sadness, like train of thought, like this thing is bad, and so everything bad is going to happen to me, and every good thing in my life is now bad. It's like every bad thing in your life can now be good. It's like these bad things don't matter anymore because you have such a good thing now that it like puts all the other things to shame. It's like let me just ask the question then. How does it affect your thoughts? I think it speeds them up a little bit. But not in the way that anger does. It just like keeps on going to like the next good thing. When you're happy and you're thinking about that happy thing, it feels like so good to think about that thing. It's not like you're almost consciously focused on it because you don't want to focus on anything else. Like, sure, you could think about the other things, but why would you want to when something so good is right here?
And I almost feel, I mean, tell me if this makes sense. I almost feel like joy, or particularly joy, and you said happiness, but isn't actually directed at one particular thing, right? Like all of a sudden it's almost flicking You know, it just flits around like, this is a beautiful, and now this is amazing. You know, it's like the trees all look great, and the squirrels playing, and the animals, you know, and like you can just be. It's like it's not necessarily like you're stuck on that one thing. Like sadness, I feel like you kind of like. I mean, it flits around too a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
or anger is definitely directed.
Yeah,
right.
Anger's
But
directed.
Joy can kind of be like.
Joy's expansive.
Joy's expansive.
And that's because joy is, like, anger is obviously focused on the thing that it's angry at. Sadness is focused on that thing, but it's also a little bit focused on itself, where it's like, it's like kind of like moves on to everything else.
Exactly.
But happiness is really, like, it focused on that thing initially, and depending on how good that thing is, you're going to come back to it, and you're going to focus on it a little bit because it feels good to think about it, like I said, but it's also, like, it just makes everything better. It's just like the world is good now. Like when you hear like a really funny joke and now you're laughing about it, you're almost like not even thinking about the joke anymore. You're just like thinking about your laughter. Like happiness is like almost like self-focused, like self-centered. And so it's like because you're happy, everything else is happy too. Everything else is good. Like because you're happy, you can be happy about anything.
How does it affect your body? Joy. What's a joyful body feel like?
Having a joyful body is like having a skip in your step.
Everything's light.
Everything's light.
The body no longer drags.
Everything's easy, you know?
Easy.
You can do anything. It's exactly the opposite of sadness because you can feel like you could run 1,000,000 miles, you know?
Let's go.
When you're angry, you feel like you can run 1,000,000 miles, but you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna run 1,000,000 miles. Like if I'm gonna run 1,000,000 miles.
I feel like when I'm angry, I could run 1 mile really fast after that one thing.
Yes.
Right?
But
with joy, I can just keep on going.
When you're happy, you can you're taking like a nice pace. You're skipping along.
Skip is an inherently joyful action.
You're right, exactly. You're running around it. Imagine someone angrily skipping.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, skipping angrily would be a joke. That would be a little comedy routine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you have a skip in your step. Like that's the happy thing, right?
Right.
That's the metaphor. You really feel light, and that's not. It's like the same reason for that metaphor is like the heaviness metaphor is because you like physically feel like you can move however you want. You can do anything. You could you're filled with like energy and joy that like you're capable of things.
We hope that you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please consider checking out the next one in the series.
Or some of our other series on philosophy and life.
We upload videos every Friday, so don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. See you next week.